100 blacks in law enforcement who care. And with this edition, we like to, certainly on the heels of Memorial Day, acknowledgement certainly to all those who have fallen members of the armed services. We wish you nothing but the best. Today, before we get started with our history piece, let me just say for the record that Noel Leader, Julian Harper, and Father Lawrence Lucas, they all on community cop assignment. So I'll be doing this edition solo. And let me quickly say that I miss them, and certainly the People's Film Festival. I think this is about the 7th or 8th year. Is getting bigger and better, bigger and better, and bigger to better. And I'm proud to say that the person who's put it together, along with her team, is Veronica Kitt, one of our producers here at Manhattan Neighborhood Network, and certainly a great person to be around. And this just shows you that her talents far exceed just doing this show, but she's doing the People's Film Festival. And just want to point out, there's going to be in excess of 60 movies shown over the next few days. It starts this Thursday, the 30th, till the 1st. This Thursday, the 30th to the 1st. And two in particular that I want to just mention to you. One is Uncle Nearest. This movie is about the black man that taught Jack Daniels everything he know. He was an enslaved African, and he actually taught Jack Daniels how to make liquor, and taught him everything that he knows about the making of liquor. This is the 8th year, and certainly this will be the best of those 8 years. Veronica's really outdone herself and really put it together. And so one movie, like I said, is Uncle Nearest, which you're going to really love. And then the other one that's really fantastic, a real story, Act of Terror. This is about a 16-year-old sister during the time of our enslavement who, I'll just say that she went on trial for killing the mistress of the lady of the house of that particular plantation. I won't tell you any much further. Those that know history might know something about it. But in any event, those are two musts that you have to see. Uncle Nearest, certainly, and the other one, Act of Terror, a real story about a young sister. You're going to love it, and certainly it does us proud to announce that Veronica Kitt is again on the case with the People's Film Festival. Now, from the outset, let me just quickly say that what we always do is our history piece. And because our history, which we should all be proud of, is so replete with incident after incident that actually you don't have to make up anything. We don't have to get into revisionist history at all. All we have to do is give you the facts. Now, I don't have the time to lay out all the things, and I only took a select few pieces, but it was so many things that happened this week in our history. This particular week that I'll only mention a few. I won't even get into the other. Well, I'll just leave those alone and just deal with a few things. One, this is the birthday. I'll just do them both together very briefly. I can't give them the justice they deserve. Sorrell Briggs and Maurice Bishop. Sorrell Briggs' birthday is on the 28th, and Maurice Bishop's birthday is the 29th. Sorrell Briggs, a great brother who from the Caribbean, was a strong black leader here. The organization he formed, the African Blood Brotherhood, outstanding, did great work, was a friend of Marcus Garvey, and you need to study this man, Sorrell Briggs, outstanding leader. Courage is lasts all day and night. Incredible amount of courage he showed. And certainly Maurice Bishop, the leader of the New Jewel movement in Grenada. As you well know, the Reagan administration attacked the independent country of Grenada on false pretenses. Maurice Bishop, who came here, I'm honored that I got to see him when he was in Manhattan at Hunter College, I believe it was, put on an incredible speech. Him, Caldwell Taylor, Ambassador Caldwell Taylor, and others were here. And they didn't know that the time would come that Bernard Court, a friend of theirs that goes way back then, would launch a CIA-inspired coup. that would lead to the death of Maurice Bishop, which happened. Long, great history, but can't get into more details. But remember those names, Sherrell Briggs, as well as Maurice Bishop. Fantastic amount of work that he did the few years that he was the leader of that country of Grenada. Also, remember, this is the week that started the 1917 East St. Louis massacre. This was a massacre. They will trivialize it and say it was hundreds, but they know it was brutal. It was in excess of thousands of black people were actually killed. Black businesses were destroyed. The exact number, I don't have it in front of me right now, but the amount of businesses that was destroyed, the amount of land and blocks and blocks and blocks were all systematically removed. Anywhere between 3,000 to 5,000 white men were roaming the streets, killing every black person they could find. I know that sounds eerily familiar to 1919, the Red Summer, and it sounds eerily similar to Wilmington and so other massacres. But the facts are they were similar in the fact that it doesn't take much for white people to hit the streets and kill every black person they see. In this particular one, the opportunities, the black advancement, what have you, was at the core of it. They could not take it and countenance the prosperity that was going on in East St. Louis. Consequently, they moved, and they moved very swiftly and strong in a concerted fashion to kill every black person they could see, that they could find. This was terminated after about 4 days, but during those 4 days, you had the participation of not only a white mob, you had police officers, public servants engaging in it. It took about 4 days until the governor did eventually call in the National Guard, because the ones who were there actually were a part of that mob. But the governor of that state, the mayor, did nothing. It was the governor of the state that eventually came in and quelled everything after 4 days. But that was one of the more brutal race riots, and they characterize it as race riots. They should just say white race riots, because they're the one that did the killing, and that was very brutal, and we should never forget the one in 1917. Now, this is also the anniversary of the Tulsa race riots, eerily similar to this, but this was 1921. This one involved, instead of just economic prosperity and such, it was more along the lines of a rumor, as they do, when black people are doing well and doing better than the encirclement of those whites who were around them. In this particular case, as you know, it's aptly called Black Wall Street. They were doing exceptionally well. They had businesses. They had land. They owned the land that they lived on. They were houses and beautiful houses they lived in. The businesses were good. They were sending their children to Howard, Fisk, other colleges like that. They were really a prosperous community. So there did come a time where Dick Rowland, a person who was actually shining shoes downtown in the Greenwood section, he used the restroom, which is upstairs, where he had to use an elevator. On that elevator, when the elevator buckled, he bumped into Sarah Page, who was 17 years old. He was 19 years old, by the way, and he bumped into a 17-year-old white girl named Sarah Page, and the rumor went from he bumped into her to that he fondled her, and somehow it even got worse than that later on in that day. Some said he raped her. So it just went from bumping into her when a crowded elevator buckled, and he just stumbled into her, and that was the extent of it. But within hours, it became so crowded, and at that point, white folks hit the streets, and certainly some blacks initially who were standing in front of the jail where he was arrested, because the police did arrest him. They were watching out for him because the rumor was they were going to invade the jail, and the blacks were there, several carloads, and when whites came over there and challenged them, one of the whites was shot by one of the blacks, and at that point all hell broke loose, and there was a massacre that had occurred that anybody that survived that, and a few survived it, were lucky. Thousands of people were killed in that particular one, and they just recently in the last few years have acknowledged that something happened, and that's the one, of course, where they used planes with incendiary devices that they dropped on various houses, and it was just a total massacre. And those who made it out were those that survived going into the swamps where there were alligators and the like. And so if you got through all of that, you survived. The same way in East St. Louis, the people that was able to make it to that East Bridge and got out into the Mississippi River, if you made it through that, you survived. So that's the same thing that happened to Wall Street. And lastly, last piece, I'm moving fast. Omar Edwards, black police officer, 25 years old, on this week in 2009, on the 31st, 2009, he was leaving his precinct on his way home, allegedly, as the shooters later said, that it was a guy trying to steal his car, breaking into his car. Consequently, he went over there towards his car. 3 police officers jumped out of their car, and they claim he failed to follow their commands, their verbal orders, and he was shot. They claim that he had his gun trained on Dutton, and Dutton had his gun trained on him. They were both facing each other, but oddly enough, the bullets were in Omar Edwards' back. Two rounds, one upper back, lower back, and in his forearm. And without even an investigation, the police commissioner, Kelly, as well as the mayor, Michael Bloomberg, claimed that this was just 2 honest guys doing their job. And they did not mention the fact that he was shot in the back. They said that race was not a factor in this. And of course, we had spoke to officers who came to the scene, and they saw the police brass huddling, and they had to stand there in formation while they decided what to do. Obviously, they called One Police Plaza and developed a strategy that later became their narrative, where race wasn't a factor. It was just, had to do with a break-in of a car and the like, and they didn't. It was a cover-up to be clear on what happened. It was a cover-up. But 100 blacks in law enforcement. We've never forgotten Omar Edwards, and we remember. Certainly, we stood with the mother and those who were on the other side, including Reverend Sharpton, stood with the police department because his lawyers, as we were told by the district attorney's office, that no one was concerned with the shooting. Everybody felt the shooting was clean except 100 blacks in law enforcement, because they told us that that Sandy and Michael, Sanford Rubenstein and Michael Hardy were going along with what had happened. So we stood against that, but I'll stop right there. But we remember Omar Edwards. Real quickly, don't have much time, did too much on the history piece, but had to get that out. It was very important. Want to talk about a few things real quickly, and then we'll quickly get to the phones. We'll try, if we can, to open up early. First thing, just want to say, got some stats. I want to thank Sister Keisha for sending me them. This goes from the year 2005 to 2013. It says that during that period, the amount of police officers that were arrested for sex crimes, it says that 636 forcible fondlings occurred. This is all 50 states. 636 forcible fondlings occurred by police officers. 405 forcible rapes occurred, as well as 219 forcible sodomies occurred. Now, this is among, I remind you, police officers who were arrested. This is not police officers where the complaints came in or were charged. This is the ones that was arrested. And certainly the research by Bowling Green State University, as well as the Cato Institute project on criminal justice data in sexual abuse cases, said that it's really non-existent because they have this information, but they're not forthcoming with the information. So since it's unavailable, you can't say how many cases there really were. But for the record, you had 636 forcible fondling, 405 forcible rapes, and 219 forcible sodomy acts occurred in that 9-year period by police officers. Next thing real quick, because I'm going to try to move fast, and I'm going to try to open up the phones early if I can. The San Antonio Police Department just recently came forth with the footage of a case where police officer Steve Casanova, Casanova, he shot and killed Charles Roundtree, who's 19 years old, by the way. Young man who was sitting on the couch in his house. Casanova, what he did was he ran to the screen door and started banging on the screen door. Roundtree was sitting on a couch. As soon as he started banging on the door, he had a flashlight, shining the flashlight into the house. And as soon as Roundtree said, "Who is it?" he began shooting. Now, this was covered up at the time of the shooting until the recent video footage came out. So it was the chief of the department, and he said that Chief William McManus said that it's very unfortunate about this tragic accident. And he claims that, unfortunately, it was a person who was standing near Roundtree who was armed that caused the police officer to start shooting. And he went on to say that it was professional. His approach, he's saying, was professional, and that there was no hostility involved in this. Now that the video has come out to show that this was all a lie, that literally he banged on the door, had the flashlight into the face of Roundtree. As soon as Roundtree said, "Who is it?" he failed to identify who he was and began shooting into the house, killing Roundtree. And the other person who was there that survived, his name is Dewante Snowden. Dewante Snowden survived, said he never had a gun. So there has not been a comment by the San Antonio Police Department since the footage came out. Now, before the footage came out, they characterized Casanova as a hero, police officer Casanova as a hero. They're saying what he did was professional, it was in line with their rules and regs, and that consequently he did a good thing. As the chief said, very professional. But there has been no comment since that video came out because they created the narrative. It was all lies. And now that the footage has come out, so I guess they made all these statements before they actually looked at the footage from the body cam. The officer had on a body cam, by the way. So now that they see that by the time he banged and by the time Roundtree just said, "Who is it?" he was already firing his weapon. By the time he said, "Who is it?" he's shooting into the house. killing Roundtree, wounding Snowden, all within a couple of seconds. So there was no verbal commands being ignored because there was no verbal commands at all. And you could hear the sound, and the guns fire came so quickly right after the banging on the door. So, again, San Antonio Police Department has not answered any questions and has not made a statement since the videos come out. Now, and I'll leave it there, but you just have to wonder, how could a chief say something was professionally done just so easily without even looking at the footage first, without the value of an investigation? Black life doesn't mean anything to so many of these police departments all over, that you could just kill a young black man, 19 years old, and you just kill him outright and no questions being asked. It's just done and casually just said the officer was professional, he did his job, and everything is everything. Everything is clean. We see that wasn't the case. Let me just move on to something else, and then after that, we'll try to get to the phone. So y'all could put up the numbers now. You could put up the telephone numbers so that people can call in. And those that know the number, you can get started. Now, this one also, the first one about the police stats was sent to me by Sister Keisha Farter from Straight Black Pride, and want to thank her so much. She sent me one other article, and this one I found rather interesting, and maybe you find it interesting too. This one was about a Ku Klux Klan leader. His name is Frazier Glenn Miller. He's the person, if that name sounds familiar, well, a few weeks ago, he was the one that went into a Jewish center and shot, I think, 3 people. Now, prior to that, so this story, the part I want to talk about is prior to that shooting. Prior to that shooting, he was arrested by police officers because he was caught in the back seat of a vehicle, nude with a black male prostitute. And of course, again, he's a Ku Klux Klan leader. He was caught in the back seat of a vehicle with a black male prostitute. He was male, not a woman, and black. Now, the Ku Klux Klans are the ones that said, we're not human. The Ku Klux Klan is going on record and saying, we're the N-word, we're animals, we're this, we're that. And so since that is the case, why would he find himself involved with a black person who's not human, and a male at that? So this Ku Klux Klan leader, and again, for the record, his name is Frazier Glenn Miller. So we have to just question, his leadership. If he's a leader and he thinks that we're less than, why are you caught in the back of the car? You so excited you couldn't even get to the hotel. You started doing whatever you was doing, and according to the report, it was graphic. Whatever they was caught doing, it was rather graphic. But I see that we do have the poet on the line, so I'll stop what I'm doing right there, and let's hear what the poet has for us today. Yes, sir. First caller, yes, welcome to Community College.
Good evening, Brother Mike. Everything.
Good, man.
I did get those. I'm very happy receiving them.
Good. You got at least 4, right?
Yes, I did.
Good.
Very much. I'm gonna bring a couple with me.
Good.
All right. So today, what I wanted to do is do a poem on Malcolm.
Oh man, on Malcolm.
Yes.
Oh yes, sir. Please go right ahead.
Okay. And then the living God, he said, behold, I give you. Alas, he blew his precious breath as the sun embraced thee. And then Almighty God proclaimed, I am but who I am. A mother sighed and softly cried while bringing forth the lamb. She named the child this shining prince, Malcolm, as she groaned, and softly sang sweet lullabies, the devil cursed, moaned. The earth stood still, 'twas God's great will, as rivers ceased to flow, and stones cried out, were tossed about. Malcolm began to glow. For on his face the Creator's grace, and etched from his great love, Malcolm stood as mortal man, angels flew above. And then the living God, he said, Rise and walk, my son, as evildoers curse the stars, had nowhere to run. For the sun shine bright, even through the night, which gave us light day. The children spoke in blessed tongue, lo, saints and sinners prayed. The world would never be the same. Malcolm spewed God's word. The dead would rise with open eyes, who mustn't think absurd. As clouds appeared, Prince succumbed to lies and scornful lead. As he fell upon the stage of hate, the doubters cried, He's dead. But years would pass, could not last, as spirits never die. For Malcolm lives and God forgives, and now we all know why. Travel well, my brother Malik El. Peace.
Oh, man. Oh, my goodness. That was beautiful. And that's the African tradition that you have to mention that brother's name, and that's what keep our ancestors alive. You have to mention them. And that's beautiful the way you said he died, but he came back. And that's consistent. That's consistent with our tradition. And certainly the old saying about you can't keep a good man down. Malcolm was meant to do the job that he did, and certainly you give him honor, and certainly I'll have to make sure that Professor Smalls as well as Dr. Jeffries gets to hear this poem. Man, that was beautiful, man. Thank you so much, and looking forward to seeing you.
Yes,
you got the tickets to the People's Film Festival, and Veronica and all of them is looking forward to seeing you, man. And we appreciate all that you do, man. I mean, you're gifted. It goes without saying. You're gifted, brother. You have a gift, and man, you exercising that gift. And we're blessed to have you call in on this show, man, and just share the stuff that's on your heart with us, man. Thank you so much, brother.
Thank you. My pleasure.
Oh, man. That's the poet. To those maybe tuning in for the first time, that's the poet. And he has graced us on occasion and has been, doing it a lot lately, but going back years, he did that. Man, that's beautiful, brother. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Hey, Brother Ray, how you doing, Mike?
Oh, man, good,
all right. Community Cop family, I just want to say, tell the brother thanks for the poem, and we're going to keep that date open for next year when they were going to be looking out for that thing they had at the Schomburg where they had folks trying to say Malcolm X was gay and all that. We're going to be waiting next year and going to see what's going to happen at that Schomburg. So keep your eyes out for that.
That's right.
Now, number two, I was cruising the internet and I found out, when that guy Dylan Roof went down to the black church and killed a whole bunch of black parishioners down there, there was also a brother named Emmanuel Sampson who went into a church and blew and shot up some white folks. Never once did they forgive him or anything like that. So that was, and he said he had to do it. According to the internet, it was payback time. So the brother went beyond the call of duty and did what he had to do. And maybe if stuff like that had happened, they would back up off us. Now, number three, tomorrow, Community Cop family. Matthew Gibson, the pastor that was doing his daughter from the church on Herkimer and Howard, his case is tomorrow, coming up the 29th. We made a mistake and was down there today, but it's tomorrow at Supreme Court, 360 J Street, a little bit past the Municipal Credit Union in Brooklyn. That case is coming up tomorrow.
Why don't you tell our listeners what case you're referring to?
Well, that was the case of Matthew Gibson, was a pastor in the church on Herkimer and Howard Avenue. And after his wife died, he was raping his daughter. He was doing his daughter.
Right.
The daughter just couldn't stand it no more and just jumped up and blabbed it out that this is what her father was doing. And she's going to suffer traumatization for the rest of her life. See, one of the things Community Cop family that we were never able to talk about was the traumatization of slavery and what happened to us in America.
Right.
Did you know that they had set up a forum for people that was depressed due to the ending of a ragtag television series called Game of Thrones, because people was depressed, and they set up a place where they could go talk about their feelings on this stupid series that was being ended. It's amazing. Now, number 4, next Wednesday, not this Wednesday, Mackey's lecture series at 103 Quincy Street. Y'all missed a very good lecture given by Brother Michael Graves. But next Wednesday, Community Cop family, Sister Keisha Forrest will be speaking on the topic to be announced by next week. Please come out and hear this great lecture at Mackey's Lecture Group, 103 Quincy Street, corner of Franklin Avenue, Brooklyn. And one more thing. Mm-hmm. When you talked about the riots in East St. Louis and all the economic upbringing that black folks was having, it seems that throughout this country, every time we had something economically going, this system tore it down.
That's
either
right.
through riots or somewhat bogus charges and burnings and this and that happened to just destroy
That's right.
the economic prosperity of black folks in America. So I just wanted to let the Community Cop family know about that. We also had a few shootings on Memorial Day, where that was a day where we were supposed to commence the soldiers, especially the black soldiers who had to pay
Definitely.
75 cents for a 15-cent hamburger, had to sleep in septic barracks. Some were even hung with their uniforms on.
That's right.
And during the Vietnam War, they came back from Vietnam and had to deal with another war. It was the war on drugs, because every black community throughout the United States were flooded with drugs vis-a-vis the government and organized crime.
That's right. The government used.
They just did it to us, so I just wanted to say those facts. And we couldn't move into Levittown. Black
That's
soldiers
right.
who fought could not move into Levittown.
That's
that was
after World War
created out
II.
in Long Island
World
after
War II.
World War, and through the fake GI Bill, they could not get them houses out there. So I just wanted the Community Cop family to know that. Thank you very much.
Yeah, just in response to that, and I want to thank you so much. We know that we should be out there tomorrow. All hands on deck should be out there tomorrow to support the family members of a little girl who was raped at a very early age, going back as far as 8. I think she's 13, 14 now, but the 6 years prior to since her mother passed, she was being raped by her father, and certainly other family members stepped up, and she's under their guardianship as we speak right now. We should not forget that. And also what Ray said with respect to not only East St. Louis and the massacres that occurred Black Wall Street, but also know that the government played a part. The government has always, whenever we became too prominent, were self-dependent and independent, and we were really making inroads. They would use eminent domain and just run a highway right through the middle of a black community, removing all the businesses. So there was a whole host of things, like he said, white mobs, thousands would hit the streets to kill black folks. But we have a full board, so let me get to welcome to Community Cop. Next caller.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the air.
Yes, good afternoon. I'd like to share with the family a hearing. The city council gives hearings. You can see it on television. The committee on housing, jointly with the committee on safety.
Yes, quickly. Yes.
Is having a meeting June 6th, 10 a.m. That's next Thursday, not Thursday coming, but the Thursday after. Giving light to all the shootings that went on this weekend near pink houses. My email address is gcrystal2234@gmail.com. If any NYCHA resident is listening and you want further information, this is an important meeting. City Council has different committees.
Okay, well, we got that part.
So you should gather your troops and be down the City Hall chambers, which is, you can take the 456 to, I forget what stop, I guess that's City Hall. Don't bring a lot of stuff on you. Big Mike, I'd like to just say this part. This is going to be Thursday after, this is June 1st, 10 a.m. City Hall. But bring nothing but your keys, because you are going to be, you have to go through the metal detector. You don't want to have to, not go in because you got stuff on you. This is a public safety hearing, and every NYCHA resident of the sound of my voice, network, share with your friends, because if we don't come out to these things, it's as if nothing's happening.
Okay, we got it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. We got a full board. Next caller.
Is that me?
Yes, you're on the air.
Sir? Yes, good afternoon. How are you? My name is Mike, call from Harlem.
All right.
I'm going to ask something very, very briefly. Last week I saw, this might be kind of something happened a while ago. I saw the special on ABC about the Central Park 5, and why is it that seasoned detectives such as Mike Sheehan still have a very strong implication that the guys were guilty? That's all I wanted to ask you.
Oh, no, that's an excellent question. Well, the facts are it's the Central Park 7. It's not 5. So
I'm sorry.
No. You don't have to be sorry. That's what people commonly make the same mistake and call it the Central Park 5. That's Ken Burns. Ken Burns might be he is an excellent documentarian. However, on this one, he intentionally botched the job when he did this documentary. He wanted to take Alton Maddox, the leader of United African Movement, wanted to take him out of the process. So to do that, he took the 5 people who was awarded a level of recompense. I think they got $8 million apiece. I think the city gave $40 million between the 5. It came out to roughly $8 million apiece. And so they call it the Central Park 5. It was 7. One pleaded guilty to get, between him as a child and his parents. They thought he would get less time if he just pleaded guilty. They thought all of them was going to do a lot of time. And the other person, Briscoe, Alton Maddox, walked out the front door with him. Alton Maddox wanted to get all the other people who were being charged, the other 5, along with the person who pleaded guilty. So it would have been 7, but they had other attorneys, and they had white attorneys and black attorneys. All 4 black attorneys were suspended. The 4 black attorneys on that case were suspended or disbarred soon after that case. All 4. The white attorneys, nothing happened to them because the white attorneys gave their clients to the system. They knew that this was all trumped up charges, so Sheehan can say they were guilty all he wants. He knows better than that. He knows full well that the person who did it came forward and admitted to it and gave information that was not in the newspaper, and his DNA was there on her. So he admitted to it. Rios, he admitted to it after the fact, and it took him years to come to it, but he's converted. It was an epiphany from God himself that he had, that he felt, it was okay to come forthcoming with the information, and he was able to take them to the very spot where it happened, able to take them the way he dragged her. His DNA was on her, so they can all say what they want. So again, it's the Central Park 7, not 5, and also remember that They're saying that those young men were guilty. They were not guilty. They had nothing to do with it. The person who did it is already in jail. He's in the system and admitted to the whole thing.
You know Mike Sheehan personally?
Yeah, we've talked a few times.
No.
We've talked a few times.
Have a nice night.
Okay, take care. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Mike, it's Kareem from home.
Say it again.
It's Kareem from home.
Oh, go ahead, brother. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I just want to say this here, though. I want to make two distinctions to our people. First of all, we have a so-called illegal mayor and an illegal president. And the illegal mayor now is running around the country calling himself running for the next president, right? And then you got all this homelessness and all this craziness that's going on in our city. And the people, not only him, the people in the city council, even our people, they're not doing anything to try to help lift our people. My point is this here. Black people all over the world, stop voting for these people because they have not your interest in their interest at all. All they're trying to do is use your vote to get into office. Also, I hope that you're looking at the president and what he is doing, because he is taking his office to stop people from testifying about him being a traitor to this country, and he got his attorney general holding it up and condoning everything at the same time. And not only that, white people are going along with it, and they always ask for your vote, but they never do anything to help our people. Last thing is this: why can we always be sent thousands of miles off to fight somebody else in another country, but yet and still, when our people are being murdered, our grandmothers are being killed, our children are being killed, and we as black men won't stand up in this damn country and do nothing about the people who are killing us, but we'll go 1,000 miles away and fight another person and don't hold them like we're the best G.I. Joe soldier in the damn world, but we're not the best G.I. Joe soldier when it comes to fighting and standing up for our own damn people. We need to wake up. Elijah Muhammad said the fall of America. Brother Minister Farrakhan speaks about Satan's house should not stand when Satan versus Satan, and this is the day and time. Study your history. Unite as a people, get into an organization that's doing something that's going to uplift your people and empower to the people, and may Allah bless all. Thank you.
Thank you, brother, for your kind words, and certainly it's accurate. Malcolm raised the question and said, who taught you to hate your nose? Who taught you to hate your hair? Who taught you to hate your lips and your skin? Well, certainly that person can make you think that your friend is your enemy and your enemy is your friend. How easily can we casually go to other countries and shoot people that look just like us? Us meaning, black folks. Whether you here, whether you in Africa, Panama, and so many other places where there's so-called conflicts at, you're absolutely right. How do we kill each other at the behest, at the orders of our historical, clean, open enemy? Well, it's happened. Why every time you go to the beauticians, all of our women are changing their hair. All of our women so many women are dying. I mean, that's one thing Dick Gregory pointed out. So many women in the Caribbean, so many women in Africa are dying from skin bleaching. Can you imagine that to this very day? Black women are still bleaching their hair. They want to be lighter. That's a badge of slavery when you hate your skin, when you want to look like the very same people who put us in bondage, who's attacking our people every day. How does a white man come into our community, slice the throat of Nia Wilson in Oakland, slice her throat, almost kill her sister, and then wipe his knife off and casually walk out? You can't tell me in that train station no black men were there. Can't tell me that. What about the woman who was stabbed on Church Avenue? the Church Avenue train station near Church in Flatbush around 17th Street over there where the B and the Q line I think is, and she was stabbed. The white man wiped off his knife and casually walked away. Black men all around. You cannot at this late date say, well, that ain't my girl, that ain't my sister. She is your sister. That is family. However, either you're a coward or you just so ignorant. You've been trained to be so much against yourself that you don't even know who you're dealing with. Because we should never allow a devil to stab one of our sisters and then just walk away. Just like that. No people will ever be respected if you allow those things to happen. And it's happening in plain sight. And here we got a black woman in Texas begging for her life, telling the police officer she's pregnant while he's putting rounds in her body. It's disgusting. But we gotta get better. We gotta do better. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
This is Eddie from the Bronx here.
Oh, go, Eddie from the Boogie Down. Go ahead.
Yeah, I had a talk with my black Brazilian friend Columbo, right? And if Trump gets the second term, there's going to be a complete freeze of immigration, especially coming from the Caribbean. They already shut down immigration of Cubans coming to America.
Well, okay.
And I think they're going to target Dominican Republic, Jamaica, and the rest of the Caribbean islands.
Yes.
Because, like I said, they don't want America to become a brown nation.
That's right.
You know? And like I said, if Trump gets a second term, there's going to be chaos in this country. And I'm telling you, I'm out of here.
Well, you're absolutely right. Look, it was Trump, and for the record, Brother Kareem, I don't say too much about Trump for the reason why all you do is listen. If you listen to MSNBC, CNN, Fox, you will get more than enough Trump. We're not going to waste this hour, to me, talking about Trump. Now, Trump was the one who put out a clarion call to Europe. I didn't say England, France, Germany. I said to Europe, in its entirety. Put out a call to Europe to stop allowing people other than Europeans to impregnate their women. So that call he's putting out is not for just here in America, because the more people of color that come over here, whether they're from the Caribbean or, as you said, Africa or wherever they might be from, he don't want them impregnating white women, and he knows full well white women are not having babies like they used to. They're more concerned with perhaps their careers or what have you, but they're not making babies commensurate with the amount of people that's dying. So the numbers are going down, and Trump, as a leader of white supremacy, because of his position, he's one of the leaders. Theoretically, you don't have to be bright to be a leader. So he's a leader, de facto leader, because of the position he holds. So he's put out that clarion call. So I don't waste much time talking about Trump, because people are aware. I put my time into trying to get you to return to your African mind, to pick up our traditions, to understand what Dr. Jeffries have dedicated his entire adult life to, what Professor Smalls, what he's dedicated his entire life to, what Malcolm gave his life for, what the Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave his life for. So I'd rather do that than talk about Trump, and just the way he takes care of his business. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from? Next caller, you on the air.
Good evening. This is the teacher from Westchester.
Oh, you mean you called in? It's not time to close the show for a change?
How are you?
Good. Yourself?
I'm doing well.
I'm so glad you called. Go ahead.
Oh, well, thank you. Good to speak with you.
Yes.
What I just wanted to say, because I do YouTube, even though you don't know I'm watching, there is a play by Ishmael Reed at the New Eurekan Poets Cafe in the East Village, I believe. It's called The Haunting of Lynn Miranda, the one who's doing the Hamilton play. I don't know what his name is, the full name, whatever it is. But people need to go and check it out. I haven't seen it yet, but it is the antithesis of everything they're trying to put out, this positive picture of Hamilton and what he did. His play tells the real truth. It uses actors that Miranda has not put forth in his play. So that's all I'm going to say. I'm going to keep it brief.
No. Stay on there. Stay on.
Yes.
We have a full board, but I need you to just tell me what you think of black men that can see a sister being stabbed by a devil and just stand there and watch. What's your thoughts?
You're a fool. You're a fool because really, like you said, no matter what, that is your sister. If I see a brother being attacked, which I have, I go for it. Nobody's going to stop me. If that's my father, if that's my son, if that's whoever, I'm not going to stand there and I'm going to not let somebody disrespect my own.
That's right.
That's how I see it. That's how it is. I know my time. I know my temperature. If you can't deal with it, that's what it is. But I'm going to step in and I'm going to stand right.
That's right. And and just lastly, what's going on Thursdays at the Schomburg?
There is something this Thursday which I'm going to. I forgot. I looked at it before I called you, and of course CRS can't remember stuff. But it's a forum, and it's going to be talking about the Dutch and their intervention into with the African Americans and how we were treated. But if you go online, there's still tickets to get, and they're free. So please come out to the Schomburg and support.
So no tickets, you can't get there? You can't go?
You can come. You can do it online. You just do it online and register. You don't. It's free. You just do it online, but they do go fast. The spaces fill up.
Okay, well, thank you so much, and though we miss you calling in right before the close, it's good to know that you watching us on YouTube.
All the time. Peace and blessings.
This is thank you. That's our strong sister who's a teacher. I shouldn't say where, but in Westchester. We don't want them to target her because she's so strong.
It's too late. I'm already on the fire. Just got in trouble as usual today, so it's nothing new.
Okay, and I know you got a message. I remember when you said that on Columbus Day, you teaching the truth. What Columbus was really about.
All the time, every day, all day. Don't have time for it.
All right, good.
All right, take care.
You too now. Next
Bye-bye.
caller, welcome to Community Cop. Where you calling from?
Yeah. Hello?
Yes.
Hello?
Yes. You're on the air. You're on the air.
My name is William Payne, and what I want to talk about is about voting and about how the charter schools are not teaching our children about the right to vote and about the blood that was shed by our ancestors to have this right to vote, and it should not be ignored. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes.
These kids are not being taught the right spirit of the right to vote. Because we fought, our ancestors gave up their blood for this right. And if we think like that, and if we teach our children the right to vote and deal and teach them the civics of government, and then they would understand the power that they could have through that vote.
Right. Thank you. Thank you for your call. Call again. Next caller, welcome to Community Cop. Wanted to get you in before time runs out.
Yes, hi.
Hi, you're on the air. Where you calling from? You're on the air.
I'm calling from Harlem.
Yes.
My name is Sansa Brown.
Okay.
And I was calling to say, how come our black young teens don't see nothing inside themselves? Where are leaders for today for the young youth so they could be more powerful to take our people to the next level? We need more black judges, lawyers, doctors. But who is there to come and show our black people that they can see the light inside of them?
Okay, you got 30 seconds or 45 seconds. Tell us what your message should be to young people to make them the men that they should be.
That look inside yourself. See something better than what the oppressor wants us to see in yourself. You are kings, my young black men. Please, we need y'all so this way we could stand up and be the queens that y'all need us to be.
And what about women? Quickly, 15 seconds.
Women, we need y'all to be the head of household Stop trying to be the man role. Let our men lead us and be the wife that they need us to be next to them.
Thank you, sister. That's a beautiful message, and it's apropos. Again, let me say before we close that the People's Film Festival starts this Thursday. It's going to be power-packed Thursday through the 1st at Magic Johnson Theater in Harlem. That's over there on Frederick Douglass, right off of 125th Street. Go to the People's Film Festival. It's bigger and better than ever. We thank you so much for all that you do. Trust me, when we're in the streets, when we're in Harlem, Bed-Stuy, Brownsville, and you come up to us and say you appreciate what we do, it means so much to us. We thank you. Your words are like gold to us to say that you care, that you're watching the program. Certainly those clips are from the People's Film Festival. It's going to be power-packed. Just thank you so much for the kind words. When we see you, Noel, Father Lucas, Julian, when we see you, we appreciate it so much when you tell us attaboy, when you say keep up the good work, or that we're doing you proud. We thank you. You know, not too many men on TV tell it like it is, black men. That is, we shoot straight, and we honor you by